little bit nervous because I have spent the day changing my tech so that I can put counters and get the audio to come through. So I'm hoping that this works. But do let me know if the audio doesn't work, and I can just switch it to the straight mic if I need to. Oh, a little bit husky today. How are you all? So, little bit of a emerging theme. So one of the things, let's just get straight into it. Huh? Let's get straight into it. Okay. First up, thank you to those of you who have signed up to my Patreon or donated like money. I'm just gobsmacked. You can't see me. What's going on? Can't see me. Okay. I can't see why that would not, yeah, I can't see why that would be the case. Seems to be working for me. So, because, let me check my preview. Hang on. It's an opening screen. Okay. All right. It's working. That's called an opening screen. It's got a countdown to it, and that's usually what happens. Welcome to Téa's Tech Support channel. Can you hear me? Is the main thing, because I have been, I've been playing with things. I really hope you can. Okay, so I'm just going to knock on and hope for the best. So first of all, thank you to anyone who's been giving me, small, medium, large, donations and support. The bit that you can do, what you can do. Sorry, start again, eh? Comments are coming through. It ended up being tech support. Okay, so we're all good. Hello, how are you? Awesome. Let's start that again, shall we? Okay, welcome. Okay, let's go. Thank you. The fact that I somehow people think that what I have to say it is not only worth listening to or reading, but that you'll put money down, it still just boggles the mind. I'm just trying to do my own thing, run my own race. I'd also like to apologize for my voice. I seem to have a little bit of a husky thing going on today. So I'll be a lovely little jazz singer today. But yeah, thank you so much for that. I'm working on a few things. This is just a little bit of housekeeping because I've been talking about it this morning. I'm in the process of launching a new website / platform, and also going to have some functionality like petitions and crowdfunding, just because I think that what we need is some sort of activist platform that is very much passionate about freedom of speech, freedom of association, and doesn't sort of, yeah. So you're able to be used. Fucking hell, man, get your shit together. Anyway, so I've got a name for it. I've registered the business name. It is called Brave Every Day, and the hint is in the name, which is that it's going to be, I'm still working on the details, and still obviously it's early days and I've got to do branding and all of that sort of stuff. But what I want to do is beat the critical theory cult or the woke cult at their own propaganda game. Because one of the things that I think when issues are complicated, when it's very much, a lot of this stuff is about theory, conflict of theory, it's really, really hard to create good materials that everyday people can use and understand, that leads them to the right places. So what I'd like to do is create a website that and a platform. The platform side of it is just more of a by the way, because I've noticed that, a lot of sort of free speech is being suppressed with the traditional platforms. It's sort of more of a bonus thing. But the core value of this site will be providing people with small, digestible chunks of information that are fact-checked, fact-based, research-based, and really sort of talk about the issue. Like the example, the thing that it inspired this, right, is, I'm way off my game today, can you tell? Anyway, the thing that inspired this was this, the Merriam-Webster dictionary changing the definition of trans woman. And I think a lot of people, and this was actually, I can't say whose idea it was, my livelihood depends on it, but it was Paul. And he said, look, a lot of the reason why people don't get on board with a lot of this stuff is because, first of all, it's complicated and confusing. Unless you are really well versed in theory, if you're not in the school and not the scholars, you don't understand a lot of the battles. What you do is you see the symptoms of it, right? And he suggested that what we do is make things bite-sized. So when you see a symptom, such as changing the dictionary definition of a word, for your average person, they don't necessarily understand the implications of that. So, you know, when you change, for example, so what I'd like to do is create ideally one thing a day to focus on, but that might be too much. I'm realistic, right? It's going to be too much, but start with one a week, one issue, one small thing a week, which is like a fact sheet, why this is important, what the background is, and sort of what you can do or where you can focus your energy for that day. So that could be, you know, helping donate. So let's say, you know, you could help donate to this thing, help donate to this thing. So really just provide that connection that the people that we're sort of trying to take on are excellent at. They're incredibly well funded. They're an amazing and well-oiled machine when it comes to the production of materials and propaganda. But, and I think a lot of the people who oppose a lot of this stuff are too wordy. It's too theoretical. It can come out wrong, right? But I think that there's a gap in the market there. So let's say someone's teaching some sort of nonsense at a school, there could be resources there for a parent to arm themselves with sort of the basic information, some basic reading, sort of like a one-pager, you know, on the issue, and encourage people to read more. So it could be printables and resources and those sorts of things that they could then share with other people and get that message out. So I'd like to, one thing that I am really good at, despite my videos where I waffle on forever, but, you know, generally, professionally, what I'm good at is synthesizing a lot of competing thoughts and ideas, extremely complex ideas, and making them simple. Okay, so what I'd like to do is use my skills for in propaganda and persuasion, and build some sort of resource website that helps to tackle some of this stuff. So bear with me on that one. I've said today the thing that you can do is help fund it, or you can help if you've got skills in this content production and know how to sort of write listicles, or are interested in doing research or fact checking, then come on board, and I will. I'd love some help, because I'd love to start to build a repository of resources, not a suppository. A repository of really easy, and even just if you're good at shareable content and you care about this course, I'd really love your help to sort of create shareable viral content for this thing. So that's one thing you can help. Or if you can hook us up with people who can fund us so we can pay people to do that, because I'm only one person. Yes, I've got the skills, yes, but I'd have to make it my full-time job too, on top of everything else that I do. So, you know, I'm only one person, and I'm one very busy person. So I want to make this happen, but, you know, that's just how it is. The other thing that you could do to help with this is offer some sort of professional advice, because one thing we're going to need to do is get sort of terms of service, get the sort of line, the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Anyway, so that's a little bit of this. That's just a side thing that I'm working on today, and well, not today, working on from now on, and I'm going large with it. I would love your help. So today I want to talk a little bit. Now, this is another thing where I think we're getting to a point where we watch this phenomenon, right? That we're starting to see the symptoms. People are starting to wake up. But what we're actually, I've been trying to explain this to people who aren't political, right? Who aren't across the theory, who don't see why these things are important, and they don't necessarily even understand where it goes, right? Because a lot of people don't know this stuff, right? A lot of people just go, well, what does it mean? What is the definition of woman? What the fuck? I don't care, right? A lot of people don't understand that really. They do intuitively, but and I've tried to use, and one thing I'd like to try and get better is to talk about talk in metaphors and talk in the at the emotional level, in the same vein that a lot of these wokes do. Because one thing that a lot of I suppose the woke arguments is that they're all very emotional, okay, and emotionally driven. Using allegory and metaphor and emotionally charged language, and that's something that we can do to beat them at their own game a little bit. But one thing that I thought, I'm just going to develop this idea. If you're watching this and you're a casual observer, a lot of the people that watch this are kind of across the theory. But what I want to do is bridge the gap so that the everyday person understands how precarious the situation is right now when it comes to the potential rise of totalitarianism and what that means. Okay, this is actually extremely dangerous times. All right. I saw on LinkedIn this morning, people, again, these fucking LinkedIn cunts, like, they're so dumb. And they're sharing these videos like, oh, look at this facial recognition. It can show everyone's emotions and what they're feeling. And I go, yeah, I can't see how that's going to go wrong. People just don't know that these things are bad. They just think they're cool. And I think that's a lot of the problem that we've got when it comes to critical theory, particularly, right? And what I've been trying to explain to a lot of people is that, and this is the difference between, first of all, between theory and application, right? Theory and practice, but also the role of the humanities in general, right? Which is that the humanities needs to be a sandbox, right? And people don't understand that, right? So I have no problem, like the point of philosophy, right, is to argue or explore ideas, right? Explore the thoughts. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they translate into real life. Now, this is where I think a lot of this week I've also been frustrated about people, being with their purity bullshit and ideology in general, right? Which is that I'd like to get to a point where every single issue is taken on its merits and we get rid of the fucking ideology completely. Okay. Now there's been a big spill in the I don't even like the words gender critical because I'm just a feminist. Okay. I'm just a fucking feminist. I'm not gender critical because I don't define myself based on what I am not. I base myself on what I am. And I think that's another thing, but we can talk about that later. But the metaphor that I have tried to develop, and I've said it a few times to a few people, and it kind of resonates, right? Which is that there's a difference between a controlled burn. So I'm using the analogy of fires, right? Fires are dangerous. Let's think of philosophy as a fucking big ball of fucking fire. Okay, philosophy is the place where you explore dangerous ideas, or you explore thoughts. You have ideas, right? You analyze the world. You try to make sense of the world around you, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it translates into real life. And what I do is I try to use the metaphor of sort of the controlled burn. So think about a philosophy or sociology or any of those fucking departments as a controlled burn, okay? So a university, if they're doing their job correctly, right, they should be able to conduct a controlled burn to, does anyone outside Australia know what a controlled burn is? So in Australia, because we have a lot of bushfires, what you do is in order to prevent a bigger fire, they basically just burn off all of the areas in the bushland so that it keeps and contains, reduces the fire risk overall. Okay. Again, this is a metaphor that I'm still developing. But so let's think about, so you've got over here, you've got a block of bushland. Okay, you've got a big block of bushland, and over there is the sandbox of ideas, the controlled burn where anything goes. Okay, that fire can get as hot and as crazy as it wants, as long as it stays within the zone that it's in. That's philosophy. Okay, that's sociology. That's what a university should be. Okay, now what we're seeing right now is a controlled burn through critical theory and through the internet, right? And let's just call the internet the superhighway, right? This controlled burn has this fire, right? That everybody in the humanities, like myself, and you know, who's fucking rational, sees these things as a sandbox of ideas and a controlled burn. What this thing has done, it's jumped over the highway, okay, and it's raging out of control, and it's now burning houses to the ground. It's burning everything down, okay, and that's because it's a dangerous tool. Philosophy is a dangerous tool, and that is why this is why it's important to make sure that sorry, you can tell I'm not on my game today. It's fucking school holidays and I'm all discombobulated. But you know, that whole idea, they think about it as all this anti-race, all this woke shit, right? That belongs within the walls of a university. What it's done is through the internet, it's jumped the highway. It's now burning everything to the ground. Okay. And this is where it's very much linked to the shit fight that happened within feminism this week, which is this idea that ideology, that you've got ideas over here, you've got ideology, right? Which that really should stay as a controlled burn, right? It should never, ever cross the road or jump the highway or jump the fucking, you know, any of this stuff and go mainstream, okay? Because everyone on the other side of the road is just trying to live their lives, okay? They're trying to survive, they're trying to eat, they're trying to live, they're trying to get along, okay? And so if you can, and you know, those controlled burns keep everyone safe in the community, right? As long as they keep, but it has the potential to burn everything to the ground. So that's the metaphor that I'm working with. But these are the kinds of things, again, I'm a better writer than I am a speaker, so I apologize if that wasn't clear. This is why I do the videos, because, you know, it's getting better at speaking. But if you try to think of it that way, so because the thing that I worry about, and this is the thing that concerns me the most, is that everything that we have worked for in the humanities in terms of social justice, like actual social justice, that's going to, this movement, this totalitarian fucking cult movement, because it's now the controlled burn fire has you know, jumped over and started burning everything, that they're no longer going to light fires at all, okay? And that makes me sad, okay? So think about fires as ideas, or flames as ideas, okay? And I worry that what's going to happen is, and we're seeing this in the universities, right? Which is that you're seeing a lot of people on the right cheering on the idea that, like, you know, of killing humanities departments. Killing humanities departments, killing sociology. Everyone's saying that they're pointless degrees and all of that sort of stuff. So I think that maybe what I feel has happened is that in many ways the social contract has been either misunderstood or broken in many different ways. And I just worry that all of the humanities, all of feminism, all of this stuff is going to get thrown out, okay, in favor of no ideas or no new ideas, right? So anyway, that's just something that I'm thinking about. But again, it's the same thing with this feminist shit, right? Now, I'm not going to fucking talk about the individual involved because I like the individual involved, and I think that if you were picking on them, then no, you're not my friend, right? I've said this yesterday, which is that bullying is not okay, and I also have this idea that increasingly, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going through this, which is that I'm distancing myself from this movement. If that's how people are going to behave, right? But this idea of like, you can be like for me, I'm a Marxist, right? But I'm not a Marxist I'm a Marxist on one side of the road in the controlled burn. Right, I'm not going to sit and say that it can work, because it fucking doesn't work. Okay, feminism, feminist analysis. Okay, you can sit there and use any school of thought or ideology to justify whatever behavior you like. Okay, but all of these things should be controlled burns. Okay, to make society safe and better. Okay, they should not. They are not absolute. They are not like dogma. Just get away. Just fucking hell. Like, look at yourselves and look at how you're behaving, right? And that's the thing. Like, even if I agree with somebody, if they're behaving like an asshole, I'm not on side with it. Okay, if you're going to be an asshole, so I need to dance around of it. So around this, sorry. So Chickpea Sani said, "What happened?" All right. Now, basically, I can't talk about it. It's too identifying. I don't want to be part of it. I'm talking about the broader issue of purity. But basically, bullying trans women and bullying trans people, and using feminism or any ideology, using Marxism, using feminism, using critical theory, using capitalism, using anything as a weapon rather than as a set of ideas for analysis, right? If you're using it as an excuse to be a cunt, then I'm not your friend, okay? And that's the thing. It's right. It's like, and then there's a bunch of people who are also rationalizing this behavior by trying to wrap it in theory. And it's like, yeah, we know the theory. Don't be a cunt. Okay, don't be a cunt to people. All right, there's no need. Like this idea that you can, anyway, it's too much. But I just want to talk about this purity stuff. So we need to the way that maybe it's just me because I did study political science, is that I understand that divide between the control burn and the raging fucking fire on the other side of the road. Okay, now. This is where things, and when you're on the other side of the road, you still got to there's people there. Okay. And also, pluralism is the only way that society can work. Okay. If you're sitting there screeching that my way is the only way for 7 billion people, then it's not going to happen. That's why socialism doesn't work. And that's why capitalism on its own doesn't work. These things need each other. That's why social democracy is the best fucking thing we've got, okay? It's not perfect, but it's the best we've got. And like anybody who says otherwise, right? And that applies to feminism as well, okay? If you're going to be pure and demand 100% compliance to an ideology, and I don't give a fuck if I agree with it, okay? That belongs in a sandbox. Okay, and it's not an excuse to misbehave and like bully people, and it's not an excuse to be a fucking asshole. There's a difference between how you operate interpersonally with people, and there is and questions of law. Okay, on this particular issue, I would be considered, because one thing. Okay, I'm probably talking around it too much, so it's not clear. All right, there are actual transphobes in the gender critical movement, and I don't want a part of it. Okay, I don't identify as gender critical. Gender criticals have tried to claim me, and that's okay, but I'm not part of that. I'm just a feminist. Okay, but I'm also not an asshole. And I will not bully people, and if people ask me to use their pronouns, I will. Okay. And I like, if a mate needs some help and they want some money, then, and I have the ability to do it, of course I will help them, because they're a person first. Okay. And I'm just so tired of the politicization of everything, and also just people with one ideology. I've said this before, and it doesn't just apply to religious people. It doesn't just apply to woke people. It doesn't just apply to everyone else. Okay. It applies to you too, which is that if you've only read one school of thought or have one framework in which to understand the world, then I don't want to be part of it. Okay. Shit's complicated. Okay. And I can say that I can intellectually sit there and say, yes, I understand the argument here. Okay. Which is that if you use pronouns, that you're conceding to the movement. No, you're not. Okay. Because I was fine with it. The system worked until self-ID was brought up. Then it became a question of law. Okay. It's like saying please and thank you, right? Imagine like manners. All right. And don't fucking call me gaslighty. I'm just trying to figure this out. Please and thank you. It's a nice thing to do. It's called good manners. Okay. If it becomes law that I have to say please and thank you, then I have an issue with it. Okay. Okay. But there is no law that says you have to say please and thank you yet. Right. But I still do it. And it hasn't ended in, when you say please and thank you, we've all been saying it for fucking centuries, and somehow we've managed to not make it law yet. That's what I'm saying. There's a difference, okay? It's not always just this big slippery slope, okay? Sorry, my kid. You see what I'm trying to say here? Just because it's like, I think that more people need to, do you know what I recommend people do? And I've said this before. Sit down and really work out what your values are. And maybe again, because I worked in, branding and digital, one of the first exercises that you do in a workshop is that you audit your value and go, well, what do I stand for? Okay. Not what am I against, or what tribe am I in, or what are my fucking identity points, or all of this stuff, right? This is why identity politics in general is toxic, right? This is why identity politics, generally speaking, and that includes fucking feminism, outside of the controlled burn and outside of the sandbox, are just corrosive, okay? Because people need to stand for something, not against something. And I think that's, and again, the reason I'm a feminist is because I believe in women's rights, okay? It doesn't mean that I don't believe in other people's rights. I'm not fighting. Probably a bad idea, but that was really badly worded. But you understand what I'm saying. If you sit down and actually figure out what your values are, okay, your politics fall into line. All right. My values, number one, okay, is compassion, kindness, non-violence. Okay. And I try to live by core principles. Right. I'm not religious, but the 10 Commandments are a nice start. 7 deadly sins are a good start. I try not to be too envious. I try not to be all of those things, right? So you can still be a decent person and an atheist, but I'm just saying it's a good fucking moral framework. And that's one thing I think, I've talked about this before with critical theory, which is that the whole ideology is very much about being against things, okay, or attacking things or tearing shit down, versus having a strong sense of who you actually are, and not with superficial identity markers, right? You may have noticed that none of those things were woman, disabled, fucking, whatever the fuck labels I've got. I can't remember what they are. But I'm just saying that's a superficial understanding. I'm talking about who are you as a person, right? How do you conduct yourself? What hills will you die on? Like for me, I believe that fundamentally people are good, right? And if you can exercise patience and temperance, and even when it's hard, right? I'm a fucking hothead. I swear, I have a temper. I'm not saying I live up to this, but I'm saying that these are my values and I try to live those values as best I can. Okay. I love humor. I love wordplay. I don't trust authority. Okay. I don't trust people in power. I believe that power corrupts. I believe that money. I don't, actually, money is a separate thing because I believe have a different relationship with money, which is that money can be a good, and money is it's fairly neutral, right? The way that you use money often aligns with your values, right? It's fairly benign and it's like air, right? Or food. But I'm just, I'm just been thinking a lot about this, and I'm just seeing a lot of that, which is that when you identify, create this whole identity around politics, and especially around like the fucking identity politics is just stop. This is why I'm just maybe I'm more of an individualist than I thought, but I really just believe in people to be free, free and fed and peaceful. I'm a pacifist first and foremost, so that's why when you see, no matter the issue, I tend to be a peacemaker. I talk shit and I start fights and whatever, but at my core, I'm not a perfect human being, but at my core, I'm a pacifist. I don't like confrontation. I like peace. I like laughter. I love music. I like all of the things that are wonderful, and I want everybody to be able to experience those. And that, when someone doesn't get that, that's when I kick in and I go, well, that's not fair. I like fairness. Part of the reason why I'm in this like gender debate right now is because I am fighting for fairness. Okay. And it was what brought me in was not about ideological purity when it came to feminism, but it was the awful treatment of those who disagree. Okay. But you can't sit around pretending that you can't, like, fuck. I said this yesterday. Was it yesterday or whatever? Which is that, those of us who have attached ourselves to this movement, or others have attached us without our consent, in this case, all I did was read and participate in some gender critical shit, and now all of a sudden I'm their fucking leader. It's like, no, nah. I have a complicated view, and I'm quite happy. I'm open-minded, and when I see evidence that either way that, fuck. I can't believe I have to defend this. But I'm just saying, I'm not part of any tribe. I'm not your leader. Anyway. So, but I'm just saying, ideology, it should be based on positive aspects and who you are as a person, not who you hate, okay? That's just not my politics. It just never will be, okay? So Freaky Red Star says, while I do ID close to GC Femmes, I'm respectful of trans rights to pronouns, etc. I 100% disagree with the hate that I've seen. Me too. And I think that it's revolting, right? I think it's absolutely revolting, like what has been happening, which is that they're using, and this is the difference, right? Which is that when I talked about the controlled burn, crosses the highway and burns down the town, okay? You guys are burning down the town. All right. I'm sitting there having a controlled burn of ideas, sitting around trying to figure out the law, trying to figure out things, but I do not condone fucking anything that like causes harm to other people or like, it's just not okay. But anyway, so that was just more of I've probably fucking waffled, but it's just, I'm just frustrated because it happens to me all the time, which is I'm actually just a fairly decent, moderate person who's curious. I have a strong sense of self, okay? I know who I am. I know all my flaws. I know all my strengths and my weaknesses. And I think a lot of people could really do with looking within and really doing an audit and reflecting on why they're attracted to certain movements and behaviors. Like, it's one thing to be a fucking, sock puppet, anonymous person on Twitter who just sits there riling up and insulting trans people. Like, that's bullshit, okay? But you've got to spare a thought for those of us who actually not on purpose, just by fucking virtue of this debate, been lumped in with this, right? Defended gender critical feminists. Even just, was it Friday or Monday? I can't remember. I lose track of days. Sitting there going, well, the gender critical subreddit wasn't transphobic. It was innocent. It was feminist. Only for you guys to all just fucking become nasty. And I sit there and I go, this reflects on me. Because I was sitting there defending this stuff. And then you went and behaved exactly in the way that I would absolutely never behave. And it's like, fuck, if you don't care about like trans people, at least care about the reputations and fucking, you know, livelihoods, and have some empathy for the women in this movement who have their names attached to this and who have to eat some fucking shit, right? To the point where I actually have to put a fucking statement out denouncing the behavior to save face. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that, again, this whole both sides stuff, I don't agree. I think all ideas matter. All ideas are different to behavior. They're separate things, okay? All ideas are valuable, okay? This is the same thing with hate speech. You can say and think whatever the fuck you want, okay? But if you're inciting violence, if you're picking on someone or behaving in a way that, you know, promotes violence or is violent, then no, you shouldn't have the right to speak. That's the difference between ideas and behavior, okay? And it's just like theory and practice, okay? Same thing. Stop. The fire needs to stay contained. It needs to be within, you know, within the walls of the what was the word? What's the word? It needs to be contained. Okay. If you're obsessive, you'd like, it's just like, you know, those people that just do nothing but bring up fucking Jesus. They're not fun to be around, man. Okay. It's like, yeah, we get it. It's basically the same. It's the same shit. It's ideology and religion is a very thin fucking line. But if you're like, I'm quite happy to, I know my feminist history. I would say I am a feminist, although it's getting harder and harder to do. Okay. I'm just not an asshole, and I'm trying to figure out ways we can live together. Okay. I'd like to think that I'm pretty independent. But, you know, like, if you are focused on one issue all of the time, it's not healthy. And also, it's not fucking cool. Like, do you want to hang out with people that just quote Bible verse over and over again and then fucking, like, no, you don't. It's the same thing with feminism. It's the same thing with Marxism. It's all this purity shit. Okay. It's no different. And it's actually just that it's not the ideology or the ideas. I could actually agree with that 100%, right? I would say I'm probably a Marxist in a controlled situation. Okay. But, you know, I'm not going to sit there and like bring on the revolution, because I'm a pacifist as well. I am also a fucking pragmatist to a fault. I also quite like men, and I quite like my sons, and I like having a business, and I like the freedoms that capitalism that allows me. I like to work hard. I don't believe that socialism is good for critique of capitalism and nothing more. Okay. What we want is social democracy, and we need to find ways for everyone to live together, because socialism doesn't work unless every single person is on board with it. It's the same thing with anarcho-capitalism. It might be a fucking idea, great idea in the sandbox, but unless everyone does the right thing, and most people can't even put a shopping trolley back right, or fucking like obey the speed limit, or not cut people. It's the 10% of fuckwits. As long as you have that constant of 10% of everything that will be a fuckwit, and there's 10% of feminists who are being fuckwits too right now, okay, it doesn't work. Okay, they're all idealist. It's like, we've got to figure out how to live together. That's what we've got to do. That's what democracy is. That's what pluralism is. If you're sitting there demanding purity and calling me a handmaiden for thinking that it might just be kind of mean to be publicly bullying and defaming a trans woman, like, fuck me, right? And yeah, I gave money just to spite you. So, you know, like you are not a judge, jury, and executioner of everything, okay? And I don't give a fuck what your ideology is. Like, keep it in the sandbox. That's all I'm going to say. Keep it the controlled burn. Keep it within the universities. Keep it within the, keep it contained. Okay? But if you only see the world through this narrow lens, then you're not going to get anywhere. Okay? That's not how politics works. Politics is about consensus and finding common ground and synthesis of ideas. Okay. So anyway, I probably waffled. Any comments? Nah. Yeah. Nah. Okay. So anyway, so for those who are late to the party, I've decided to create a platform that helps to synthesize, for lack of a better word, some of the more complicated aspects of not just gender critical. I'm more than that. Fuck. But not, like a sort of reason, critical theory, and just some informational, shareable content, and biting it off in small chunks for normies who don't understand what's actually happening. Like James Lindsay is doing absolutely fabulous work, as is Helen Pluckrose and a number of other people, but they're fighting it at the scholar level at the universities. What I want to do is, sorry, itchy fucking nose. Sorry. What I want to do is fight it with at the normie level, so that when you see the shit that your kids are being taught, that you are armed with tools to do that. Also, I'll put in a crowdfunding platform and a payment processor and a few other things over time, just so that people are able to crowdfund without being shut down. If you can help, that would be great. Through time, skills, advice, sharing, all of that sort of stuff, research, editing, anything that you think, you might be able to help with, that will make it be launched a lot quicker. So I look forward to that. So anyway, I'm going to go. This was just a quick daily stream. I'm doing some more interviews this next week. I'm just tired, and it's harder with school holidays and stuff. I'm doing an interview on Thursday in person with somebody. So I will announce that soon as that's confirmed. But I'm hoping that you all have a lovely day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. If you have if there is anything that you would like me to talk about, do flick me a message, and I'll, as long as it's interesting. It's got to be like, I don't want to fucking be one of those. I'm not going to be one of those people. I know people ask me questions, but like, I'm not going to be one of those people that like, you just put this out there, philosophical fucking whatever. It's like, let's just have some fun, right? There's plenty of people that you can ask those sorts of big questions to. I don't want to smell my own farts. I don't want to disappear up my own ass. I just want to let's just laugh at the world and learn a little bit as we go. But I like the idea of it, like that metaphor of the fire. I've got to write it down maybe, which is the, controlled burn, it's jump the highway. But so I'm going to go. Here's my stress balls. Anyway, I'm working on it. Thank you so much. Anyone who's like giving me some like little bit of Patreon, that just keeps me going. It's great. No matter how much, it's just, I'm gobsmacked that people like will put down, especially like right now when everyone's like struggling and stuff, that you'll put cash down for me. That's just so humbling. You have no idea. So thank you so much. Anyway, I'm going to go. Oh yeah, I had another idea. Like how the euphemism for like a gay man would be like friend of Dorothy. I was thinking that maybe what we'd do is call ourselves, we're friends of J.K. Rowling or something. Anyway, it was a stupid thought. Stress balls. Okay, love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. Check out my links. Keep an eye out for this platform. If you know anyone who wants to fucking build a get up or a propaganda machine that's actually fact-based and researched and authoritative to counter the woke propaganda machine, I'd love some investment, because the quicker we can get it done, ball. The more resources we have, the quicker I can get it done. Because otherwise, I'm one person. I can only do it in my spare time. So thankfully, I have a good toolkit. But many, many, many hands make light work. Okay, so thank you for your precious life seconds. I love you. Be nice to each other and stop being fucking dogmatic and purists. Can we just be reasonable, please? All right. And I don't want anything to do with bullying ever. Even if I agree with you, I don't care. Not right. It's just not right. So behave yourselves, pull your heads in, all that sort of stuff. I love you. Talk tomorrow. Bye.